this, I give over the floor to the MyWorld campaign, to the UN Millennium campaign, to Holly and Anand, who are also partners for us regarding the Global Youth Music Contest, but also our organization has been part of MyWorld survey, working with them on campaigning and advertising the MyWorld survey, which you will hear more information on.
Thank you, Miroslav, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Anand Kantaria from the United Nations Millennium Campaign, and I'm here with my colleague, Borday, who will speak to you later on about MyGreenWorld, which is a new initiative that we're doing. Just a quick background to the UN Millennium Campaign and where we sit within the UN system. We were set up in 2002 by former Secretary General Kofi Annan to champion citizen voices at the UN, to hold leaders accountable for decisions that are actually made at the UN. So to really reach out to regular citizens, working through civil society, working through youth organizations, and really provide that link into decision making at the UN. We started out campaigning around the Millennium Development Goals over the last 15 years, and most recently, as of the start of 2012, we responded to the Secretary General's statement that he wanted the next development agenda to be the most inclusive and transparent agenda the world has ever seen, and have the most number of people and organizations participate in shaping that agenda. So in response to that, our team designed the MyWorld survey, which a number of you may have hopefully taken or at least heard about over the course of the last 18 months. I'm pleased to say as of this morning we've crossed 6 million participants in the survey, and we're on track to reach 7 million by December 12th, so making it the largest body of evidence ever collected about citizens' priorities for a better world. And a lot of that is due to the hard work and dedication of partners such as Miroslav's organization, YouthInc, and others who are actually on this panel today. In fact, we've had over 1,000 organizations sign up and participate in MyWorld from the very beginning, and a large number of those have been youth organizations. Everyone from the Scouts and the Guides through to local level organizations in country and region. And in fact, 80% of our data, so 80% of those 7 million voices, over 5 million have actually been young people under the age of 30, which shows that young people really do want to be engaged when they're given a platform. There's a massive appetite around the world for people to actually share their voice in a meaningful way and take action on this next agenda, which really will be, which, as Amina Mohammed, the Assistant Secretary General looking after post-up 2015, always says, youth will be doing the heavy lifting for the next agenda, and they really need to be engaged from the outset. So why are we here today? And apologies for my sort of slow speak, because I just got off 24 hours of traveling from plane to plane. But essentially what we found with the MyWorld data is that we've had massive engagement from the education community, from the health community, from the employment community, where we haven't seen as much engagement has been from the climate community. And as such, action on climate change hasn't fared very well at all, as you see in the MyWorld survey. If I could probably just get back one slide. It's actually at the bottom of the priority list currently. And we feel that that's actually a symptom of the number of partners that have engaged from the climate and sustainable development area, as opposed to citizen and youth actual perception. I was in New York, and many of you may have been involved with climate marches that took place in September, and there's no doubt that this is a massive issue for people everywhere. And so we're concerned that our survey isn't reflecting what it is that people are actually saying and feeling. And so this is really a inspiration from us to all of you to really engage and vote in the survey. It's still live until the end of this year. We feel it's a massive opportunity because the political space has been created at the UN, both with the Open Working Group, with the Secretary General's synthesis report writing team, with the President of the General Assembly. They're all looking at the survey data, and we really want to make sure that climate features high up in the survey results. So if I could ask all of you to visit MyWorld2015.org, spread it out to your networks. It just takes 2 minutes to vote in the survey, and hopefully we can pump climate change right up to the top of priorities for people for a better world. I mean, interestingly, in addition to the MyWorld survey, we've also done an analysis of Twitter. So I'll just flick through a couple of slides so we can show you. So what we've done is, working with our colleagues at Global Pulse, there's been a monthly analysis of conversation happening on Twitter, so millions of tweets. We have special access to the fire hose, and we've cross-checked what people have actually been talking about on Twitter, along with our 16 development priorities from MyWorld. And what we found is that actually action on climate change, protecting forests, rivers and oceans fares very highly in day-to-day conversation on Twitter. So there's definitely a disconnect between what people are actually talking about day-to-day and how people have voted in our survey, which makes us feel that we really do need to reach out more comprehensively to the climate community. So there's a quick plug for MyWorld that's shameless, but I think that we've worked very hard to create the political space for the intergovernmental processes, but also a lot of national governments are now looking at this data as they develop their country position, both on post-2015, but also the climate negotiations. So please do take a moment to vote, and you'll be able to see your data visualized in real time at data.myworld2015.org. So that's all. I just want to kind of give a quick introduction to the work that we're doing across MyWorld, and I'll ask my colleague Holly to tell you about our exciting new initiative, MyGreenWorld. Thank you.
Hello everyone, it's a delight to be here today. And just going off on what Anand was saying about MyGreenWorld. So MyGreenWorld, it's a survey that's presently in design. So in looking at, we work with post-2015, and looking at next year, post-2015, as well as the Global Climate Change Agreement, we've been working with the Secretary General's Office, the Climate Change Support Team, to come up with a voting platform where citizens can engage on issues pertaining to climate change. And right now we're looking at climate change impacts. So the idea is for this voting platform to support transparency and accountability on the road to Paris and afterwards as well. And as you can see up on the screen here, this is actually a beta test version of the website. We are planning to have a launch in February of 2015. So right now we're in the design phase, as I've said. We're working with UNICEF, and Anand can also speak a little bit more about that, and doing a test in 3 different countries. We have Nigeria, Uganda, and Indonesia, asking people, what impacts of climate change do you feel are happening to your community and your families? We also have an open online consultation where we're asking the general public what impacts would matter most. And we also have an advisory team made up of UN climate change experts from UN agencies, civil society organizations, and academic institutions. We're helping to actually guide the framework of the survey. So the hope is to, once it is launched, to engage youth organizations as we have with MyWorld. The MyWorld data, we actually have over 80% of our votes have come from youth organizations. So as Anand said, we're here today to really engage the community, the climate change community, on helping to design this platform, as well as then disseminate it and use the data in key political moments along both the post-2015 process and the UNFCCC process. And yes, is there anything you'd like to add, Anand?
Just one thing to say on MyGreenWorld is that we see it as an opportunity. We had a lot of debate about what to actually ask people, and I think when we looked at the MyWorld survey, what made it engaging was the fact that a regular person, who's not invested in these issues, can actually relate to the questions that are being asked. So the idea was to actually look at the impact of climate change, as Holly said, on people's day-to-day lives. So people may not actually understand renewable energy and how it's different, to existing energy sources. You can get into a lot of technical language, but people understand the impacts. They understand, changing sea levels. They understand when the climate change temperatures start to change in front of their very eyes. So how do we actually make this into language communicable to a regular person? And also, how do we bridge the gap between core development issues like education, healthcare, and say actually we need to look at the impact of our day-to-day lives in these areas of climate changes as well. So we see this survey as sort of helping bridge the agenda of core development issues and climate issues. So I think that's the only last point to say in summary. So I think we have the survey actually up on the site. Please do take a moment. It's vote.myworld2015.org, and I think Miroslav's also putting up the World We Want platform, which is a joint civil society UN platform, which actually consolidates all of the major consultations that have taken place to date around post-2015. So the work of a number of civil society organizations, as well as all the UN country consultations. And if you go to the, I don't know, Miroslav, if you're able to just go to the Visualize, the Visualize tab, if it works, so here, and if you sort of scroll down to say MyWorld social media analysis. So here you'll actually be able to see the Twitter analysis that I spoke of. That's actually updated on a monthly basis. So it's a really great way to actually engage with youth on topics and that they're talking about day to day. So as you see, the core 16 areas of MyWorld that we track: education, water and sanitation, climate change, affordable nutritious food, etc., is all visualized in real time. And then Holly, if you're able to scroll down. So it was last updated in November, and you can see that an honest and responsive government is the top trending issue, as we've seen for across the board, especially for young people in a number of countries, with elections coming up, etc. Job opportunities, freedom from discrimination. But then you start seeing, protecting forests, rivers and oceans coming in very highly in Twitter analysis. Without anybody actually asking people questions. This is unprompted, what people are talking about. And then, Holly, if you want to just scroll over countries, I just want to show one illustration that you can actually break, if you scroll up, and then look down a little bit, sorry. If you say just click on Peru, for example, you can actually break this Twitter analysis down by country. So a number of you may be particularly active in particular countries, and you can actually, if you just scroll down a little bit up, it's highly technical. Yeah, so I mean, somebody living in this country can actually see, just for Peru in the last month, an honest and responsive government, better job opportunities, freedom from discrimination. You can actually see how all of those different topics have trended in your particular country. So our colleagues in P3 in New Zealand can take a look at what's going on in their home country. So we found this to be a really useful tool, and it's all in the spirit of open source data. Nothing is protected. We haven't taken anyone's email addresses to get this, so anybody can use it and cut the data in any way that they see fit for their advocacy. So I just wanted to take a moment just to show you where all of this stuff is located, and if anyone's interested in learning more, both Holly and I are available and very much willing and open to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anand. It's really wonderful to have you here, because it's also regarding this systemic perspective on global governance, that there are different processes running parallel. So for instance, this UNFCCC process is somehow some kind of silo. And many people are working here, lobbying and everything, but not aware that this post-2015 development agenda is the overall framework for development, in which climate change has to play its role, has to be considered, and that for those interested in climate, working on this kind of platforms, online consultations, that could help the climate agenda very much. survey. It's really a very good way to connect the people with the UN system. And as regards our link, it's the WorldWeWant platform is somehow the overall platform on which MyWorld is somehow running. But this WorldWeWant platform is the main platform for the whole UN system, for the development agenda, and all these issues, sustainable development goes to get in people's voices. And it's sometimes very difficult to communicate these things, also for young people difficult to communicate. And we've seen with our global youth music contest that this is an avenue which resonates with people.